Halo Combat Evolved is a masterpiece, a title that was far ahead of its time, setting the benchmark for future iterations in the first-person shooter genre. However, much has been discussed about Halo's variety, some praising its unique encounters and locations, whilst others slating its repetitive level design. We're going to take a look at Halo mission by mission, to truly assess how it juggles the issue of variety, analysing the good, the bad, and the ugly of Halo Combat Evolved. At the time of Halo's release, most first-person shooters were set in tight linear corridors, so it's no surprise that this is where we begin Mission 1. After seeing the Covenant up close, we're handed a pistol, an assault rifle, and are free to kill them in order to escape the ship. The Covenant themselves only consist of grunts and elites at this point, with red elites posing a larger threat to their blue counterparts. Not only are we introduced to the pistol and assault rifle, but also the plasma rifle, plasma pistol, and both frag and sticky grenades. This is as simple as Halo's gameplay can get: 4 weapons, 2 grenades, and corridors to kill 2 types of enemies. Yet, even in this simplicity, there is the complexity of multiple different routes a player can take, ensuring replayability is encouraged. This almost acts as a training mission, in preparation for when you escape the ship. A lot of people who played this back in 2001 can recall how they felt when they stepped out onto the ring for the first time. Suddenly Halo's level design has opened up, and it's a complete contrast to the previous mission. However, by the time you've taken in your surroundings, you're getting attacked by banshees. Whilst you'll be able to pilot these later on, it's the first example of getting attacked from above, and this is reinforced when the Covenant use spirits to drop in enemies. One of these enemies is new. Jackals are quite defensive and can use their plasma pistol to take down your shields. After defending the Marines for a few minutes, a Pelican drops in a Warhog, and we get our first example of vehicle gameplay. Before you entered the vehicle, you also may have had the chance to experience a new weapon, the Needler. Nonetheless, after some driving, you exit the facility and are free to rescue the nearby Marines in any order you please. Some are located among a mound of rocks, whilst others are trapped inside a Forerunner facility. It's a really great variety of close quarters, vehicle, and long-range combat, assisted with the sniper rifle, another new weapon. Of course, this combat can be experienced in multiple ways and styles, each one as effective as another. You can begin to see how Bungie doesn't throw their sandbox at you at once, but rather introduces certain items at certain times. That sniper rifle you picked up in the last mission is now at the forefront of the next level, and not only do you have access to this weapon, it's also packed with ammo. Bungie wants you to use it considerably. This is further emphasized by the fact that this is the only mission in Halo where the pistol is not present. The level opens up with an element of stealth and surprise, choosing which target to take out first. There aren't any new usable weapons here, but there are shade turrets present, and taking out the gunner is the best method to disable these defensive weapons. You may also stumble upon an active camo pickup, further highlighting the stealth theme of the mission. Set at nighttime, the Truth and Reconciliation feels completely different to the lush green environments of the previous mission. Now you're creeping behind enemy lines and using night vision to take out Covenant from a distance. Before entering the ship, a new enemy will present itself: Hunters. These guys are much harder to take out and are very aggressive. Their weak point is their back, but it can be difficult to get close to them due to their devastating melee attack. Once inside, that active camo pickup you used earlier now gets used against you. This elite, or zealot as he is known as, has an energy sword, and whilst it is a new weapon, it's not one we can use. After that, the mission is mostly corridor fighting, with a slight alteration towards the end, as you have to ensure Captain Keyes doesn't die. After the slow and cautious combat of the previous mission, the silent cartographer opens with a D-Day style frontier.
The island has multiple structures and installations. One of them contains the map room.
We're approaching the LZ. It's gonna be hot. Get set to cut out quick. Touchdown! Hit it, Marines!
Once the Warhog comes into play, you are free to explore the wide open island as you wish. You'll eventually come across the main structure and a smaller building where the Covenant once again uses stealth to their advantage. You'll probably stumble upon a new weapon too, the rocket launcher. This is used to combat the amount of hunters present. After discovering the location of Halo's control room, you move on to the 5th mission. Assault on the control room is by far the most varied mission in the game. A common criticism of this mission is the amount of rooms, like this one, that you must fight through. Whilst this is a valid criticism, each room Bungie presents us with is unique with its own layout and variety of enemies and weapons. Vehicle gameplay is used here with the player engaging with enemy banshees and new vehicles such as the Ghost and Raid. Along with that, players have access to a new UNSC vehicle, the Scorpion tank, which is only used for this mission. Taking a step back, the missions we have covered so far have all felt fairly similar to experience in terms of tone and atmosphere. Halfway through the campaign, however, Bungie decides to mix things up with 343 Guilty Spark. Captain Key's transponder is not responding, and it's your job to figure out what is going on. Right off the bat, we can tell that something has changed for this mission. The Covenant are panicking and perilously running away from something. A dense fog has covered the area, limiting our sightline and darkening the tone. We find a crashed Pelican with ammo, supplies, but no bodies. There's gunfire from the facility. Yet, when we venture in, we find no Marines. As we head deeper, we find blood. A lot of blood. Doors, bridge mechanisms are broken, and even more strangely, there isn't a single elite in sight. Eventually, we stumble upon a Marine, but he is going insane, seemingly suffering from PTSD.
Stay back! Stay back! You're not turning me into one of those things! I'll blow your brains out! Get away from me!
Finally, we discover the supposed weapons cache and realize that the squadron of Marines have been consumed by the Flood. Up until this point, we had only been fighting Covenant, but now Bungie introduces a new enemy type who acts completely different to what we're used to. They are normally found in packs and are very aggressive, charging towards you in contrast to the Covenant's more defensive playstyle. Before long, we encounter Flood who carry weapons, and to counter this, Bungie provides us with our final new usable weapon, the shotgun. The entire experience felt more akin to a horror game than a first-person shooter. The whole mission is tremendous, but unfortunately, we are straight away introduced to a certain level that has divided opinion amongst the Halo community since its debut in 2001. The library is dedicated to the Flood. There isn't a single Covenant enemy in sight, and with 4 floors consumed by the parasite, you must begrudgingly battle your way through every door, passage and walkway for at least 20 minutes. Though on harder difficulties, you're looking at about a half an hour of blasting Flood with your shotgun, frantically reloading and doing it again. It's tedious and frustrating to say the least, yet commendably, Bungie still manages to include some variety in its encounters with different enemy types, objectives, and weapons available. The level design is fairly uninspiring to begin with, but it doesn't help that each floor feels the same. It's this mission where the level of variety takes a turn for the worse, and this isn't helped when you finally get back to Cortana and start 2 Betrayals. The quickest way to describe 2 Betrayals is assault on the control room backwards. Sure, the lighting is different, there are some new areas, and the gameplay is nothing like the aforementioned mission, but ultimately you've been here before, and that doesn't help variety. The landscape has become a bit of a frantic battleground, with the Covenant, Flood, and the occasional Sentinel all fighting to gain control. Bungie presents us with our final new weapon, the Fuel Rod Cannon, though it isn't usable. The mission plays out quite similar to Assault on the Control Room in some parts, whilst other parts have been freshened up with the Flood, or interesting vehicle sections. But the theme of reusing older mission areas continues as we enter the penultimate level. Keys admittedly starts off in a completely new section after we exit the ship. From here you have to cautiously fight your way back to the gravity lift, whilst the Covenant and Flood desperately fight for use of the ship. However, after this, the same corridors we explored in the Truth and Reconciliation are utilised for this level. Otherwise, the rest of the mission plays out as expected, and is probably the weakest level in the game. Although it is fitting to finish the game where we started, this is now the 3rd level in a row that reuses older areas. After some intense close quarters combat involving Covenant, Flood and Sentinels, we are required to destroy the ship's reactors. And lastly, Bungie sends us off with the Warhog run, 3.5 kilometers of avoiding obstacles and Flood in order to escape the exploding ship. It's truly special and a deserving way to finish the game. And there we have it, a mission by mission overview of how varied or not so varied Halo Combat Evolved is. It's so strange to see a game swing between absolutely excellent design and lazy copy and paste sections, but Halo does so frequently. Taking everything into account, however, I think the good outweighs the bad, and Halo has variety that it can certainly be proud of. The sections towards the middle of the game in particular are worthy of high praise, whilst the game tails off towards the end. Yet, this is easily the most replayable Halo campaign, and one that still remains a timeless classic to this day.
Halo, it's finished.
No, I think we're just getting started.